following video is not made for kids. Viewer discretion is advised. Hello to my subscribers, this is the TFangy coming to you with a video review of what has become one of my favorite figures of the Transformers Legacy line. Figures that are still contenders for most favorite Legacy figures still include some of the Wave 1 figures, Leader Class Laser Optimus Prime, Deluxe Class Skids. But today we have what has become my favorite Voyager class figure of the Transformers Legacy line. And I apologize for looking down at it as I said that, but I'm just beyond thrilled to finally have this figure. So the title of the video has revealed it, and so tonight we are going to be taking a look at Transformers Legacy. This is the first figure from Wave 2 of the Legacy line I've added to my Transformers collection. Voyager class Decepticon Jhiaxus. Oh yeah, I am beyond thrilled to finally have Jhiaxus in my collection. I've been waiting since he was announced for him to get released, and Amazon is where I got this copy of Jhiaxus from, in case you guys are wondering. Amazon surprised everybody by announcing a few days ago that they were bumping up the release date of the Legacy Wave 2, the Voyager class figures at least. From November 1st was the original release date for these Voyager class figures, and Amazon bumped it up to July 6th, which was 2 days ago. Oh, so I am thrilled that Jhiaxus is here. I'm thrilled to finally have him in hand. And let's take a close look at him in his box. So there he is. I hate the open window packaging. I hate it with a passion. But one thing I do love is that Jhiaxus has his Generation 2 Decepticon logo, and it even says on his box that he is from the G2 universe. And yes, that is actually his name. I thought it said Decepticon, but it actually says Generation 2 Universe Jhiaxus. So this is the version of Jhiaxus that was created and introduced on the pages of the original Transformers Generation 2 comic books that ran from, I believe the years the G2 comics were in circulation were 1992 to 1995. The Generation 2 franchise as a whole didn't actually last that long, but it was a great transitional period between the Generation 1 and the Transformers Beast Wars series. And a lot of Transformers fans and collectors have said that the Generation 2 characters have so far been given the best figures of the Legacy line. So I don't know if that's because as the current year 2022 marks the 30th anniversary of when Transformers Generation 2 was launched, or if it's just a coincidence, but that personally wouldn't surprise me now that I've said it out loud. So here on this side of the box we got some images of Jhiaxus. There he is, a close-up of his robot mode face. Here's the same image of him, but with more of his robot mode in view. On this side of the box there's the poster image for the Legacy line, the Decepticon side of it at least. You got G1 Megatron, Dragstrip, Iguanus, Skywarp, and Kickback, the Decepticons who make up Wave 1 of the Legacy line. Legacy logo on the top of the box. Coming on here to the back of the box, we've got Jhiaxus in his robot mode and his vehicle mode of a Cybertronian jet, and he transforms back and forth between both modes in 23 steps. So, a quick history on who the character of Jhiaxus is. Jhiaxus ended up rivaling Generation 2 Megatron in being the ultimate villain, the ultimate sinister evil bad guy of the Transformers Generation 2 franchise. Jhiaxus was created by the Transformers comic book writer Simon Furman, and a shout out to Chris McFeely and his video series Transformers The Basics. He did a video of Jhiaxus a few weeks ago. And he brought to my attention where Jhiaxus got his name from. Apparently, Hasbro, after the Generation 2 comic books were starting to get published, Hasbro informed Simon Furman that any one of the Generation 2 comic books, any issue, could potentially be the last one. At any moment, Hasbro could cancel it because they didn't really have too much faith in the Transformers comics at the time. And Simon Furman decided to name the new villain of the Transformers G2 comics Jhiaxus, after Hasbro telling him they could cancel it any time. And it was Simon Furman's way of saying back to Hasbro, "Hey, Jhiaxus, give us the axe. Or geez, you're going to give us the axe." So yeah, that's what Jhiaxus' name is based on, is that phrase, give us the axe. I'm sorry, I forgot how I said it a moment ago. Oh yeah, that was it. Oh geez, ease, you're going to Axis. So yeah, that's where it came from. And true enough, Jhiaxus, he went on to become one of the main villains of the Transformers Generation 2 comic books. He proved such a popular character that Dreamwave briefly brought Jhiaxus back in the early 2000s, and in, I believe it was 2002, 10 years after he was introduced to the Transformers franchise, Hasbro surprised collectors and fans everywhere by releasing an action figure with Jhiaxus' name, AIM in the original Robots in Disguise 2001 toy line. And the first action figure of Jhiaxus, it was actually a straight up repaint of Transformers Beast Machine's Jetstorm, and unlike Jhiaxus' paint job that was given to him in the G2 comics, which is mostly yellow and white with red highlights, that first Jhiaxus figure was actually mostly orange with white and gray highlights, and that actually served as the paint job for IDW's version of Jhiaxus when they brought him back for IDW for their comic book several years later. So Jhiaxus has basically had two paint jobs, a mostly orange paint job and a mostly yellow, white, or red, white, and yellow paint job, which is what this version is based on. Jhiaxus, in between the Robots in Disguise figure and the Legacy figure, he only received one other action figure in the Transformers Generations, a Thrilling 30 line back in 2014. I do have that deluxe class Jhiaxus figure, so I will bring it out for some size comparisons, and that's one thing that makes this the Legacy version of Jhiaxus special. Just like the Robots in Disguise Jhiaxus being a repaint of a previously released figure, the Generations Thrilling 30 Deluxe Class Jhiaxus figure from 2014, it's a repaint and a retool of the Generations Deluxe Class Transformers Armada Thrilling 30 version of Starscream. So, the Legacy version of Jhiaxus, it is in fact the first ever Jhiaxus figure that is its own entirely original brand new mold and is not a repaint or a retool of a previously released Transformers figure. There's lots of collectors speculating as to what characters Jhiaxus could potentially be repainted into. Time will tell at this point. So to give some background story on Jhiaxus within Transformers fiction, Jhiaxus was created a long time ago. He's an old-time Decepticon, not as old as Upper Alpha Trion, but definitely he's been around longer than Optimus Prime and Megatron have done. And as time went on, Jhiaxus eventually left Cybertron and began to build a new colony of Decepticons, and he tried to expand it into an empire. And Jhiaxus was driven by the goal of peace through tyranny. And basically, Jhiaxus, after traveling across the multiverse, he eventually came to the conclusion that the only way the Transformers race would ever enjoy peace is by death. So yes, Jhiaxus came to the conclusion the only way the Transformers could enjoy peace was for them all to die, and so he set off on a mission to bring about the genocide of the Transformers. And if that profile sounds familiar, that's because it's the same AIM type of destruction that the all-time main villain of the Transformers franchise, Unicron, wants to bring about to the Transformers. And IDW comic, I can't remember if it was IDW or Dreamwave, one of those publishers, they revealed that the reason why Jhiaxus abandoned his red, white, and yellow paint job in favor of his mostly orange paint job for a while was because it was revealed that Jhiaxus had actually been captured by Unicron, and Unicron showed Jhiaxus his desire to bring about the extinction of the Transformers race, and Jhiaxus realized that extinction would make his ultimate goal of peace for the entire Transformers race a reality, and so he decided to expand and alternate on Unicron's plan, and by slowly bringing about the destruction of all the Transformers. And even back in the original Transformers Generation 2 comic books, Jhiaxus constantly tried to manipulate the Autobots and Decepticons into fighting each other, And in IDW's comic books, when Jhiaxus is managed to unite the Autobots and Decepticons, tricked the Autobots and Decepticons into fighting each other is what I was trying to say. His goal was that once the Transformers were defeated, he would replace them all with mindless copies that only wanted to exist through peace. And so you could argue that Jhiaxus wanted to bring about basically the apocalypse of the Transformers and then replace them with peace-loving clones. And when Jhiaxus' plan was discovered, the Autobots and the Decepticons, to Jhiaxus' horror, did kind of fulfill his goal of uniting and coming together in peace and harmony, but it was for the purpose of seeing Jhiaxus completely obliterated and destroyed once and for all. And out of all the Transformers characters, the one who finally defeated Jhiaxus in battle was in fact Starscream. So in IDW's comic book, Starscream went through a temporary upgrade where he upgraded from his Generation 1 body to his Transformers Armada body, and when Jhiaxus' plans were fought out, Jhiaxus tried to fight his way through all of the Transformers that could potentially destroy him, and when he came face to face with Starscream surprised Jhiaxus by not only revealing that he had laser guns, but he also had the swords from his Armada body upgraded into him, and so Starscream jabbed Jhiaxus right through the chest with his sword, straight through his spark, and obliterated him. But Starscream wasn't acting on his own. In that same Transformers comic book story, Jhiaxus, it turns out, he'd figured out how to manipulate the Autobots and the Decepticons by sneaking into Planet Cybertron's archives, and he stole archival records and information about how to manipulate the Autobots and Decepticons into going into battle against one another. And Planet Cybertron itself actually ended up possessing Starscream's body, and it was the archives of Cybertron, which together IDW named the Underbase, is what actually destroyed Jhiaxus, and the Underbase absorbed it back in. My apologies for that little hiccup there. Here was starting to get a technical issue, but yeah, so you get the idea. It was Planet Cybertron itself that ended up destroying Jhiaxus by using Starscream's body, but either way you look at it, despite the menacing threat that he imposed, Jhiaxus was somewhat ironically destroyed by Starscream out of all the Transformers who could bring him down. And the basic idea behind Jhiaxus is that he's basically a regular Decepticon who has, out of all the Decepticons, Jhiaxus is the one who has come the closest to acting and thinking just like Unicron. And he basically has the same desire as Unicron to bring about the extinction of the entire Transformers race, but unlike Unicron, who wants to do it for malice, Jhiaxus believes that death is the only way the Transformers race will enjoy peace. So it's a twisted way of the metaphor, peace through tyranny, and peace through death can take. So that's what you get here with Jhiaxus. So, despite his somewhat bright and vibrant paint job, Jhiaxus is as sinister as the Transformers can possibly get. And I don't know of anyone else who has ever thought this, but I'm going to say it right now. I find it somewhat ironic that for as evil a Transformers character as he is, Jhiaxus' red, white, and yellow paint job, it honestly reminds me of, because it's so bright and vibrant, because that was what was popular during Transformers Generation 2, it honestly makes him look like, his paint job looks like ketchup, mustard, and yellow condiment colors. So, and I apologize if for all you guys out there who can never unhear or unsee that now. So now that we've gone through the background behind Jhiaxus, let's do what the main focus of this review is about. Let's get him out of his box and finally take a close look at him in his robot mode. Alright, before I actually finish unboxing Jhiaxus, I just wanted to share this with you guys. Be exceptionally careful when you're removing Jhiaxus from his packaging, because the space in the back of his cardboard backing where his wings are inserted, it's not wide enough for the wings to slide through Ew, and the way the hinge joints are shaped, you can't really get the wing. You can't fold the wings inward anymore, or so. They designed the hole where it's not big enough for the wings to actually go through, so I'm going to probably have to rip the cardboard back in to get the wings out carefully, so just be aware of this when you get Jhiaxus for the first time. Alright, and so here is Jhiaxus out of his box, and I gotta say, he is pretty impressive looking considering, actually no, I take that back. He's just overall impressive looking, and I really enjoy how accurate he is to the original Transformers Generation 2 Marvel Comics. So here's a close-up of Jhiaxus' face sculpt. Lower his arms so the laser guns are out of the way while I get him as close to the camera as possible. So there's a close look of Jhiaxus' face. That is accurate. That is the iconic head sculpt that he's always had in the comic books. Him having the one double-barrel laser gun shoulder cannon here is accurate to his portrayal in the comic books. On the images, both on his instruction sheet and on his box, these bat wings on his ankles are supposed to be deployed in robot mode. So that is interesting in design there. Here Jhiaxus having wings on his ankles, and yes, the sculpted detailing here on his shins is a bunch of wires, so it shows you how much of a badass bot Jhiaxus is, where he has exposed wires on his shins. So if you try and kicking him in the lower leg, he doesn't care or whatever pain you think you're going to try and inflict on him. And so yeah, that is I'm just really thrilled to finally have a version of Jhiaxus that looks like it jumped off the pages of the original Transformers Generation 2 comic books in my collection. I just really enjoy how he came out. One thing to note about Jhiaxus, and people who've already gotten a hold of him like I have, the ball joint on Jhiaxus' neck that holds his head up, it is extremely loose and extremely floppy, so just be careful with that. I've seen some people do some of the fixing techniques that have happened with Transformers figures that have loose ball joints, and you try and tighten it up. I'm not going to do that on Jhiaxus because as long as I don't touch his face on my copy, his head does manage to sit. There's enough friction on the ball joint that his head sits perfectly without knocking around. So yeah, his head can spin in clockwise and counterclockwise. Eyes a full 360, even with the shoulder and deployed right here. He's got universal joints in his arms. You can technically bring the arm out if you want to rotate it forwards and backwards, but unfortunately you do end up bringing out the transformation joint. He's got a bicep swivel, hinged elbow. He does also have wrist swivels as well, so that's a nice touch. He does have a waist swivel, so he can spin 360 degree ease left and right. His legs can go outward only this far. He can't quite do a full splits due to how the top of his hip joint is shaped, where it has a slight it curves upward at the top. But he does have swivel joints at the very top of his thighs. He has a swivel joints in his knees, even though on the back the sculpted detailing makes it look like they're ratchet joints. They are swivel joints, so that's nice to see. He does have ankle rockers on his feet, and his feet can move up and down slightly at the toes. So you can get quite a decent amount of action posing here with Jhiaxus. And of course he also has 5mm holes on the bottom of his feet, so you can attach weaponizer parts to him. For 5mm ports, he's also got them on both arms. He's got hexagon-shaped 5mm ports on his shoulders, on his lower arms. He's got one on his back if you want to store his laser guns on there. And he's also got a 3mm flight mount port right there on his gluteus maximus. Yes, I said edit. And then of course he's also got a hexagon shaped 5mm ports here on his legs for additional weapons. And so for his accessory pieces, he comes with a large laser gun that's cast in red plastic, and he also comes with a much smaller gray laser gun. And this laser gun is the one. This smaller laser gun is the one that I'm worried about. That could potentially break over time. It is made out of clear, smoky black plastic, and then most of it has been cast in silver paint. And another nice feature about Jhiaxus is that he does have a hinge joint on his fingers, so you can give him open hands if you desire. He doesn't have individual fingers. It's just all four of the fingers move on a hinge joint that's at the knuckle. But then because this smaller laser gun, on one side of it there's a 5mm peg, and then on the other side there's another 5mm hexagon shaped port. You can and then there's a 5mm peg on this side of the much larger laser gun. And so if you are inclined to do so, you can attach the two laser guns to each other, and you can make it look as though Jhiaxus has a double-barreled laser gun, and that he can use on his enemies. And there are 3mm or 2mm, I can't remember the size, blast effects are compatible with Jhiaxus here on his laser gun, so that's a pretty nice thing to see. And even though he doesn't come with any other weapons that can do it, there's also a 5mm port on the back of Jhiaxus's larger laser gun. So if you have any if you feel the need to combine Jhiaxus's laser guns with any other weapons, you have the ability to do so thanks to that. So for some size comparisons with some other Transformers figures, here is the previous action figure of Jhiaxus that was released in the Generations line. This is the Thrilling 30 Elite Deluxe class version of Jhiaxus that was released back in 2014. So this has the mostly orange paint job from IDW's comic books. I've seen photos where Transformers fans and collectors bought a second copy of this figure and gave it the paint job that this new Legacy figure has. As some of them came out pretty impressive looking, but I still enjoy seeing Jhiaxus in this mostly orange paint job just because I've had this. This has been the only figure of Jhiaxus I had in my Transformers collection for the last 8 years. I did show this off. Last year I bought a copy of the Transformers Studio Series Bumblebee movie Voyager class Blitzwing figure, and I custom painted that into a Voyager class figure of Jhiaxus. I apologize, I put that figure away. So I apologize for not bringing out my custom Studio Series Jhiaxus figure for this review, but here's Legacy Jhiaxus next to the Generations Jhiaxus figure. And for those of you who skipped the video earlier, I've had a couple of people who skipped my videos. But the reason why Jhiaxus had a mostly orange paint job in IDW's comic books is because he was kidnapped by Unicron, and Unicron was the one who convinced Jhiaxus to go on his destructive path of bringing peace to the Transformers race by bringing it to extinction. So yes, Jhiaxus, he basically started off as an evil Transformer, but after he met Unicron, he went from evil to being outright sinister. So yeah, despite his bright, vibrant paint job, don't let that fool you. Jhiaxus is almost as evil as Unicron is, and you could argue that Jhiaxus could potentially hold the title of being a herald of Unicron, but as I said at the beginning of the review, earlier in the review, Jhiaxus basically is the closest any Transformers character has come to thinking and acting like Unicron does. And just for some more size comparisons in robot mode, here he is next to the Generation 6 Generation 2 Megatron. So here are the two villains from the Transformers Generation 2 franchise. And it's not so much that Jhiaxus wanted to overthrow Megatron and become Decepticon leader. No, Jhiaxus wanted to murder Megatron along with all of the other Transformers in the Generation 2 series. And for another size comparison, here he is next to a Legacy Laser Optimus Prime. And yes, Jhiaxus is as tall as Laser Optimus Prime is, so Jhiaxus is a fairly tall Voyager class Transformers figure. I apologize for not bringing out any other Voyager class Transformers that have been released more recently. But yeah, Jhiaxus is a pretty imposing Transformers figure in his own right. Right, so without further delay, we will get Jhiaxus transformed into his jet mode, wrap up the review, and I will share my final thoughts on the Tyrant from the Transformers Generation 2 universe. Alright, I apologize for not showing the transformation. In the past, I've had YouTube's informed me that most people who watch my reviews skip over the part of the review where I show off the transformation. But without further delay, here is Jhiaxus in his alt mode of a Cybertronian jet, and even though I haven't seen too many images of Jhiaxus from the Transformers, the original Generation 2 comic books that were published by Marvel, people who have seen it have said that just like the robot mode, the jet mode here, it looks like it's flew right off the pages of the Transformers Generation 2 comic books, so it's amazing that the designers at Hasbro and Takara were able to make this figure of Jhiaxus just look as imposing and impressive as it is. And unfortunately, as far as storage space for Jhiaxus' laser gun, even though there's a 5mm port here on the top of Jhiaxus, because of how boxy shaped the laser gun is, and because of this a transformation joint that sticks out over the back of the cockpit, there's just no way of plugging the laser gun here on the top of Jhiaxus, just without making it look silly. So unfortunately, the best storage space for Jhiaxus' weapons is to just have them sit here underneath the nose of the jet mode and have it act as a front nose cannon. And now officially, here on the back of Jhiaxus, the bat wings from his ankles are supposed to be folded in and facing the opposite direction of what they do in when Jhiaxus is in his robot mode. But if you want to, you could fold them up like that and make it look as though Jhiaxus has slightly thicker wings than what they really are. And unfortunately, there's this hinge joint on this wing right here is a little loose and floppy, and so unfortunately, with time and with age, if you transform Jhiaxus too much, there's potential that these wings could one day droop and be pointing downward like that. And so it is a tad unfortunate that it's like that. But one thing that is nice is that right here at the middle transformation joint, the wings are actually pegged into place. So if a third-party company wants to, they could very easily give Jhiaxus wings that have different types of transformation joints where the wings won't end up potentially drooping downward in the future. So that is a nice thing to see, that the wings can be replaced if need be very easily. But yeah, overall, Jhiaxus does look pretty great. Unfortunately, the robot mode arms do end up sitting underneath the bottom of the jet. But the way it looks and the way they're shaped, it looks like it's either a cargo bay or a bomb bay underneath the jet mode. So yeah, it's overall pretty nice looking, and I just really love the vibrant colors used here on Jhiaxus. On the product photos, I thought his wings were like a bronze colored, but they are in fact green. I don't know what shade of green you would call this, if it would be lime green or grass green, but yes, I really enjoy how, just like all of the Transformers Generation 2 characters, Jhiaxus has a very bright and vibrant paint job. I love that early 1990s look to him. And again, there's a close-up of the solitary faction symbol that he has on him, which is the Generation 2 Decepticon logo right there, I believe. Look at Megatron again just to see. Yeah, so it is nice that for the Decepticons, at least from the Generation 2 franchise, Hasbro and Takara Tomy are using the G2 Decepticon logo. So overall, I'm finding myself speechless and sounding like a broken record at how fantastic looking Jhiaxus is. So, for a size comparison, here he is next to the Generations Deluxe Class IDW Jhiaxus figure. So yeah, this jet mode is pretty huge. It's pretty massive, and even without the laser gun attached to the nose cone, it is a pretty lengthy sized Voyager class jet. But yeah, I really enjoy how it turned out. And even though he's not transformed into his alternate mode, here is Jhiaxus in jet mode standing next to Generation Select's Megatron. So even without the laser gun, which is off camera right now, Jhiaxus in jet mode, he stands nose to tail as tall as other Voyager class Transformers figures. So he retains the same length in jet mode as he does height in robot mode. So that's pretty nice looking. So for some paint detailing here, they painted some of the stripe detailing here on the cockpit section yellow, just like his robot mode chest. There's the same detailing from his legs. You got silver on the exposed wires. He's got a white tail fin. Again, the green wings. White and yellow are the two colors that are predominant on Jhiaxus. Got the red nose section with the laser cannon right here. And just for a fun size comparison with another Voyager class Transformer that turns into a jet, here is Jhiaxus next to Shattered Glass Starscream. So yeah, there's Legacy Jhiaxus next to the Siege Tetrajet mold. A lot of Transformers fans and collectors regard this mold as being an average sized Voyager class figure. So yes, Jhiaxus is pretty massive and imposing. So for my final thoughts, do I recommend getting the Transformers Legacy Voyager class Jhiaxus figure and adding it to your Transformers collection? Absolutely, I do. Go out and get Jhiaxus, add this figure to your Transformers collection, even if you aren't really a fan of who Jhiaxus is and you aren't familiar with the character. He is a pretty unique looking Transformers character. The jet mode, for what it is pretty impressive looking, and I do not know of any other Transformers characters who try to pull off having the same paint job that Jhiaxus does, where he has a red, white and yellow paint job in robot mode, and the red kind of gets replaced by green in jet mode with the green wings on the back of him. But yes, and overall, in terms of overall size of Jhiaxus, he is one of the larger Voyager class Transformers that's been released in recent years. So I do highly recommend you get this figure if you can. Jhiaxus was at the top of my list of Legacy Wave 2 figures to collect. So I'm really glad to finally have him in hand. So thank you to all my subscribers for your continued support. Thank you to all my friends and for all your continued support here. This has been my review of Transformers Legacy Voyager class Jhiaxus. Go out and get this figure added to your collection. You will not regret adding Jhiaxus to your collection of Transformers figures. So thank you guys all so much, and until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, and until next time, you guys, transform and roll out. Goodbye, everyone. Da-da-da-da-da-da.